Okay, so I've tried to make this video like 3 times now. Every time something's been wrong, so it's just irritating. So forgive me if I seem a little irritated. Hopefully, I'm gonna get through this one all the way through. I'm trying to make it quick. I just freaking Mike was muted a second ago for the first run. Then I had an error with the computer and had to restart. Then the third time, the mailman just showed up and interrupted. So I'm just here we go. I know that all the books I read are not going to be bangers, not going to be #1 best-selling author kind of material. I know that. I wasn't expecting it to happen so quick. Dark Sun is a great series. I love the setting, and I love Athos, and I love the concept behind it. Okay, it's a great idea. It's a great premise because the way magic works in this world is just top notch and showing that people's greed led to the destruction of everything. I love that. Well, Death Mark, and I'm going to show you this damage to this book. Look at that. Look at that. It's god dang atrocious. Doesn't that piss you off as a piss me off as a collector? These books are not cheap. And that was supposed to be collectible edition. I tried to do a bad review on Amazon. They kept denying me. If somebody can give me advice why I kept messing up, let me know. Please let me know so I can give them the review they deserve because they're supposed to be collectible edition. And I did my review with a 1 star and said I'll never buy from y'all again because y'all are lying because this did not happen in transit because they had cardboard on it like this. By the way, if somebody sends you a book and they've got cardboard on it, I love that because that's going to keep it from bending and flexing. That pretty much means the book was like this when I got it, when it was shipped. But so regardless, this book has great potential, and it's a shame to see it wasted like it's been. Okay, go ahead and start up with the back matter for you. In the aftermath of revolution, the King Calic of Tyr is dead, and all eyes fall on the lucrative iron mines of his once mighty city-state. Merchant houses scramble to seize what scraps they can, while King Hamanu of Uruk, the Lion of the Desert, rallies his armies to crush the Tyr rebellion. As the tyrannical specter of Hamanu's war machine looms on the horizon, the hope of the rebellion seems lost. But fate chooses unlikely heroes. The gladiator Lauren, pressed into service by a corrupt prince, a Lady Estelle who isn't above exploiting the Chaos and Tears insertion for her own good, a common thief named Melik, and Korvac, a disgraced Templar. These are freedom's best hope to overcome the greed and lust that blooms in the hothouse of revolution. This book starts off pretty good. It starts off with a big-ass assassination of multiple people. It's not like one guy. This dude I thought was going to be, and they made him sound like he was going to be some kind of, Thrawn-like tactician, madman kind of thing. And that is not what we get. We get a guy who showed that he had a decent understanding of tact and planning, but that he should have seen some of these things happen if he was supposed to be so smart. Sure, they could have said, "Oh, he was kind of crazy." Well, some of the smartest people were crazy. This dude just didn't line up on certain things with me. Now, I will say the characters I liked, and they had a lot of promise. But you have to follow through on that promise. You make me a promise, you better keep it. When you make a good character, you better make them work. And some of the characters did not work because I felt like this book suffered from that Spider-Man 3 syndrome, where there were so many characters that he wanted to flesh out, but he didn't have the pages to do it. He didn't have the time or really the story to do it. I like where this all happens because it takes place between the a couple of the books. It takes the Crimson Legion. It takes place like during that when they leave Tyr to go fight Uruk and Hamanu's army. So I mean, I love books that do that when the authors turn that down so it stops ringing. when authors can make it take place canon within the line like that, it shows that the research was done, that all this stuff. Because one thing to me that I cannot stand is when the research for a character is not done and it leads to somebody butchering somebody else's character. Because if some people do this, and I think it's okay. I think it's actually kind of like a, hey, I love your character. Can I use them for my book? And if someone gives you the blessing, that should be like, dude, don't mess up my character, because if you do, I'm gonna hate you. You know, it should be a respect between authors. Like, I love your character so much, I want to use him because that character's already been made. He already has a personality. You don't need to make something up for that character, right? So let's say, because I bring up Rikus in this, Rikus, I'm going to say his name, as he's leading the Crimson Legion, and I was worried that they were going to bring in some other characters. They do have Tithian a little bit near the end talking. And you know what? I'm not displeased. He did him service. He did him a good service. Tithian is the way he explained. And I'm like, that's awesome, man. You know, you did good, Robert. Speaking of, books written by Robert J. Schwab. I can never pronounce that last name. I think I'm pronouncing it right. But like I said, I've tried to do this video like 3 times now, so if I'm forgetting to talk about something, my bad. I'm getting irritated with doing this so many times. It's like I'm stuck in a Twilight Zone episode. It's never going to be over. But, you know, I wasn't expecting this to happen. The plot threads show that there was a lot of merchant houses trying to plot over each other kind of thing, and that they're using these characters that he gives, this gladiator, this, I guess you would call her, you know, she's kind of high-blooded from a high caste, from a high mercantile house, this thief, and this Templar. And they don't even talk about it, but there's a dwarf in here, and Paka. I love her character. I love that, and she actually kind of is a main character. Like she's kind of a big deal, you know, in this. Does some pretty big things that the story could not advance on without. She could be considered one of the heroes, and I think that it's a damn shame that I would love to know more about her. And the story about how she came into servitude up underneath, you know, her master. But again, there are some things like I don't want them to flesh out, and I'd be concerned that it'd be ruined. The mystique behind the characters would be ruined a bit. Kalik, you know, his bastardized mindset is still kind of in the city of Tyr during all this, even though Tithian's been reigning for a little while. And the Templar that we're shown in this, he actually still has some of Kalik's magic. Doesn't explain in depth how and why he has some of his magic still, but his name is Korvac. Doesn't really explain why he has some of Kalik's magic still. And Korvac, I think, might be one of the characters I think the author developed some like the best. That and probably the crazy ass noble who has Lauren and his gladiator companion pretty much in her servitude. Pretty much has them as slaves. She's got some of the best character development because over time throughout this book it shows as if it was slowly amping up the craziness with this chick, and then finally when her plans come to fruition, she's like she's doing her own shit now. I'm pretty sure this had nothing to do with what they were supposed to be doing, and she's doing her own thing. But that could have been a whole new book. That could have been, and I don't know how, you know, Wizards of the Coast and TSR and how all of them did their thing. Like if they said, hey, we would like you to do a book for us, just a book, just one. Not, hey, we would like you to write for us. You got a book idea? And if they come out with, oh yeah, I got 3, I got 4, I got 2, I got a good 2-parter here. It's going to lead up with all this stuff, then it's going to lead up when this chick's plan goes off, and it's going to be crazy. And the second book is going to be everything's on and popping all throughout. I think that's how this should have went. I think that if you would have had the expectation of the book being plot and just getting it ready and a lot of foreshadowing, then it would have had me like on the edge of my seat. I'd been like, okay, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Especially if I knew a second book was coming. I'd have been like, oh, the second book, something big's gonna happen. The foreshadowing in this was very light. It was sprinkled, There was some sprinkling of plots and schemes, but it was more for the building of plot as opposed to things to come. And when talking about foreshadowing, I think a little is better than a lot, but it should still be throughout. One of the books I read on writing was this guy called him Sparks. And you should have sparks in a book that keeps a reader's attention. With each one of these characters in this book, there was not really a spark. Some of them had a spark that would grab our attention. There should have been a spark for each one of their storylines. So every time the character came back, we were talking about their story, we were fully enthralled. But some of the times it was just, okay, they're going from this place to this place and nothing happened. And you're like, well, at least they're from there to there. But in the same aspect, I get it. Something doesn't have to happen all the time because you don't want a book to be too chaotic. But somehow, this book managed to kind of be a little chaotic. And as if he wanted to do too many things. And a good point to this is the gladiator Lauren, him and his half-elf companion. They get out of the ring, they win their freedom, but they still find themselves in servitude under this prince. And he pretty much says, here, my daughter is leading a caravan, you're going to guard her. And then the daughter does her own thing. And that's the character I'm talking about who has some of the best developments, that daughter. But to do so, his half-elf companion was on the point of dying after the fight. They won, and the guy said, you have to be our servant. And he's like, screw y'all, I was just a slave for all these years. We won. We are free people. And he's like, you are free. But I don't have to also save your friend. But I could if you follow my daughter in her caravan. So Lauren doesn't tell his companion that the reason they're stuck in the situation was because he saved his life. And to do so, it was servitude or death. And then when he finds out, his companion finds out, it makes it like it was going to be a big deal, but they never gets resolved. So I think that Robert, the author, I think he wanted something to go on with that, but it suffered from a lot of things that I find myself when I'm writing, I deal with, which is I'll find myself, the story will evolve as the characters evolve. And at a certain point, when you're polishing it, I think he skipped this. I think that when he went back to polish it up, he skipped. Like, he might have had the story wanting these characters to something to happen. And then maybe he decided, no, this would be better. This happened. But he didn't take that out. And he didn't go back, and he could have shaped it and molded it so there was less stuff going on, be unresolved things happening. Because there's a good bit of unresolved stuff. Melek, the thief. He's part of like a thieves guild. When you meet the guy who's the head of this thieves guild, I got like this Lando, Calrissian kind of vibe off this dude. Wearing fine silks, and everything. But he just, and I was expecting him to be one of those guys like, you don't cross this guy because he'll find you later on in an alleyway somewhere and you're going to regret it. No, the dude's got a really short fuse. That's his big thing. He's got a really short fuse. And sure, he's powerful, and he knows a lot of people and makes deals, but he'll also beat you up. And I'm like, oh, man. I was like, that kind of ruined it. I thought this guy was going to be one of those, don't cross me because you'll regret it. Not, don't cross me, you'll regret it. And maybe that was his intent, was that he wanted him to be that way, but because he didn't have the proper pages to develop the character, maybe that's what it was. Maybe he didn't have the chance. and he had to squeeze it in there, and it seemed a little rushed, and it seemed like there was too much stuff going on. I was more concerned about this dude's bodyguard. She like cut men's junk off as trophies after beating them. That was like her thing, and she's a badass. And I was like, shit, she's the one you need to look out for. I was like, maybe that was, he's the suave, and he can be dangerous in his own way, stealthy, backs off, and she's the muscle, and there was just so much stuff, man, that happened in this, and I was just displeased. I would give this book a 4, only because it took beyond the halfway mark for it to kick off. And when it kicked off, man, shit was on. I was into it then. I finished the book in a day. I finished it like, how many pages when it kicked off? Maybe 90 pages. I finished maybe 90 pages, just sat there and under a day just ate it. And that's how I usually do books. I'll sit there and I will just read them all the way through, and then I'll think about them, go back and I'll reread, try to find things that I thought interesting, or like, did I miss that? Or maybe I was missing something. And I don't want to even go back and look to see what I might have missed, because there's some stuff in this I was like, I don't care. The best part was when it popped off and people were finally meeting each other and all this. It got good then, but it shouldn't take that long. Maybe have some people meet up beforehand, show that they met and that they don't know who they are yet. And he does that in a kind of he does that, but not really, because they leave after a very short period of meeting each other. You see them interact like twice, and then they leave. So that's that. But again, guys, I would give this book 4. I still would say read it, mainly because I love Dungeons and Dragons. I love D&D, and this is back in their heyday. This is back when they weren't writing to be woke, and nobody was pushing for agendas like they are now for everything. So this is still written to be fun, written out of pleasure, out of people just wanting to write a good story. And you have to honor that. There's a lot of respect that goes into somebody who says, I'm doing this because I enjoy it, not because I want to make a point. That you need to, I say you need to support things like that. But again, that's my own opinion. And I think that everyone should read what they like to read. If you like reading this modern stuff, read it. I like reading this modern stuff sometimes because it's part of the canon. I'm also going to try to be reading a lot more Star Wars, and a lot more, BattleTech and MechWarrior, and some other, a lot of Ailey Martinez books. I love his stuff. They're hilarious. And I am rereading the Drit series. That's one thing I was doing while I was doing this, because I had to break away from this. I had to get into something good. And I'm rereading the Drit series so I can cover them. I'm also wanted to give a shout out real quick to the one guy who subscribed. Thank you, my man. Recently, that is. Thank you, dude. It's just really funny seeing somebody subscribe, and I was like, hey. Also, that chica that I talked to, that's pretty cool. I like that you talking about the Tribal One series. That caught me off guard. I love the Tribal One series. It was the Outcast, Seeker, the Nomad, and I will cover those. I would just really like to reread them first, because they're on a whole tier all their own. I can't even give them a star rating, because people need to read them for themselves. I'm going to give them all a 10 just because they are some of the best books. They're up there. But I'm going to try to do some more posts. Maybe knock out some more this month. This is my birthday month, so that'd be nice, right? Hey guys, y'all stay safe, stay warm, and be good.